This is a brief presentation on anthropometric data and physical activity levels. In Australia, we undertake a national health survey which gives us an overview into Australia's health status. This was recently conducted by the Australian Bureau of Statistics, and the most recent one, which this presentation is more based upon, is from 2014 to 2015. The Australian Bureau of Statistics is a reliable, known and trusted source of information provided by the Australian Government, used for many research and educational purposes in Australia. This survey, conducted between July 2014 to June 2015, was conducted in all states and territories and across all different types of areas, including urban, rural and remote areas of Australia, and it included around 19,000 participants. The survey was designed to collect a range of information about the health of Australians, including the prevalence of long-term health conditions, health risk factors such as smoking, overweight and obesity, alcohol consumption and exercise, and this is majority what we'll be focusing on, the use of health services such as consultations with health practitioners and actions people have recently taken for their health, and demographic and socio-economic characteristics. So what is anthropometric data? Well, simply, it's data that includes height, weight and waist measurements. It is a useful tool to measure the likelihood of some health-related risks. The National Health Survey brought to our attention that a concerning number of Australian adults are overweight or obese. So 61% are overweight or obese, which equates to 3 out of 5 adults. So it is important to monitor how Australians measure up, to identify high-risk groups and recognise the characteristics associated with these physical attributes. It's really important to remember to take into account different anthropometric measurements when looking at someone's nutritional or weight status. Just because two people may weigh the same and be the same height, does that mean they both carry the same risk factors for things such as cardiovascular disease, diabetes, cancer, etc.? Before you ever take any anthropometric or physical activity information from a person, it's really important to ensure that you have fully explained to the client what is involved. The client must have provided consent, and you need to ensure that you're maintaining your professionalism throughout. When taking someone's height, ask them to remove their shoes and any hats that they're wearing. Ask them to stand against the wall as straight as they possibly can, with their heels and knees together. Their head, shoulders and heels are to touch the back of the wall if they can. Arms are to be freely by their sides, and when taking the measurement, have the client inhale. Record this to the nearest 0.1 of a centimetre. Pause the presentation now and try measuring someone else's height. To measure someone's weight, use scales on a hard, flat surface. The client is to be in loose-fitting clothing. Get them to remove any shoes. They're to stand comfortably with their weight distributed evenly amongst both of their feet, and ensure that they're not holding onto the wall, not assisted by you or anything else, and record the weight to the nearest 0.1 of a kilogram. Pause this now and try measuring the weight of someone else. To measure someone's waist circumference, get them to remove the clothing by their waist and their hips. They are to stand upright, relaxed, with their arms by their sides and their feet together, and determine the smallest horizontal narrowing between the bottom of the rib cage and the top of the iliac crest. Then, position the tape to be on the narrowest point of the waist. The tape is to touch their skin, but don't squeeze it in. Make sure the tape remains horizontal, and the client is to breathe out and relax. Measure at the end of the breath, and record to the nearest 0.1 of a centimetre. Pause this and have a go at measuring someone's waist circumference. In Australia, a healthy waistline is considered under 94 centimetres for men and under 80 centimetres for women. Your risk increases with anything over these measurements. How did your waist measurement fare? And do you believe that it's an accurate representation of your health status or your health risk? For adults aged between 18 and 64, it is recommended that they undertake 150 to 300 minutes or 2.5 to 5 hours of moderate intensity physical activity, or 75 to 150 minutes, which is 1 hour and a quarter to 2.5 hours of vigorous intensity physical activity a week. For adults aged over 65, it is recommended that they participate in physical activity daily, aiming to do at least 30 minutes a day. Their physical activities should include a range of activities that include fitness, strength, balance and flexibility. How do your physical activity levels go? Do you meet the suggested criteria? From the National Health Survey, it was found that 52% of adults aged 18 to 64 were not sufficiently active, and for adults over 65, that number raised to 75% of adults being not sufficiently active. Whilst it is important to take an overall picture of a person's health, we ask to still remember that there are numerous factors at play, including things like measurement error, reporting error, and bias, to name a few. Australia still alarmingly has some way to go in improving their overall health status and their physical activity status. How do you think the results will go in the next National Health Survey that